All right, it looks like we are live. Welcome everybody to the Maverix Lifestyles Rogue Hangout. It's Alicia Drew here, and we have Chris Brindamore coming to you from, where are you at again, Chris?
Rhode Island. Hi, everybody.
Rhode Island. I went blank.
As far away from Regina as I can get. Right?
And Regina Floyd out in Hawaii.
Hey, aloha.
Yeah, and I'm actually in sizzling California today. It's 100 degrees, and everybody's dying. But coming from Vegas, it's not a big deal to me. So, yeah, it's quite sizzling today. So, all right, everyone. I want to thank you all for being with us today, and for all our regular viewers. And if you're new today, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. Introduce yourself below and get involved in the conversation. And today we're going to be talking about something very interesting that I actually heard yesterday. I was listening to a new interview that Eric Worre, who is a major leader within the network marketing industry, he was interviewing the one and only Tony Robbins. And he said something that was really profound to me. It really resonated with me and really got me thinking. And that's what really fueled today's hangout. And what he said was, the chokehold on the growth of a business owner is always the psychology and the skills of the owner. Now, I found that really profound. I'll say it one more time. The chokehold on the growth of a business owner is always the psychology and skills of the owner. Now, the reason why I really thought about this and it really hit home is because there are many, many businesses out there that get started, and majority of them will fail. I think it's within a 5-year period. I think I have the stats here somewhere. 5 years, 80% of businesses will fail. And within 10 years, only 4% of those businesses will make it. So that means that within 10 years, 96% of businesses are failing. There's only 4% that are making it. Now, that doesn't mean that they're actually making a profit. When I say making it, it just means that they're still standing. And why is it? Why is that? Why do so many businesses open their doors, whether it be online or, you know, a store or whatever it is? Why do they open a business and then fail? It really made me think about this whole thing of the psychology and the skills involved in being a business owner. And in particular with what we do here online. Now, whether you already have your own business or you're thinking about starting your own business, which what we're going to share with you might really give you more insight into being an actual business owner. I mean, because I don't know about you guys, Chris and Regina, but I think that many people come into this space and within the online marketing world to, you know, earn an income, and they don't really see themselves as a business owner. They don't really look at themselves as a professional. They just see it as this thing that they can try out to see if it works. And I really want to press upon that today, that when you step inside this online business, this online world, to earn yourself an income, to get the results that you want, to live the life of true freedom, you need to step into that professionalism and realize that it's part of the 80-20 rule. So it's going to be 80% psychology and 20% skills. Okay, and if you can wrap your head around that for a minute, it's 80% psychology and 20% skills. Now that might seem like a really, you know, off ratio for a lot of people when they hear that. And I think I kind of thought that too when I first got started. But once I did get started, I realized that majority of it was about the psychology. It was about the mindset. Of course, we have to have the skills. We have to build a skill set. And that's another reason I want to press upon people today, is when you come into any type of business, particularly if you've had no experience at all, you have to realize that you've got to give it time to whatever it is that you're doing, and take the time to master that skill set in order to become professional. So with that being said, today I really wanted to kind of dive deeper into a little bit more about our stories and when we got started. What was the reason behind us getting started within our online community that we're a part of today? What was the breakthrough that took place that led us to say to ourselves, look, enough is enough, I want to try something different. Well, not try, we're going to do something different and really step inside a different world, so to speak. I know it was for me. It was a brand new world, this online marketing thing. I didn't know anything about it. I had absolutely no experience whatsoever. And for me, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to add to the skill sets that I already had. And it was, when I first dived into it, it was unbelievable to realize it was so much more than what I thought it was. And I want to maybe throw it over to Chris, actually, and because I don't think I've actually ever heard you talk too much about your story and what it was that made you get started within this online industry, and what major breakthrough did you have that kind of made you make that decision?
Thanks, Alicia. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. All right, make sure the Google gremlins weren't kicking in today. So yeah, I don't think I've actually talked about my story, at least not on this Hangout, and I haven't really talked about it recently. So, I went through what most people would consider the program that you're supposed to go through. You go to college, you get a good job, and start a family and all that. And, I don't know, probably like a lot of us, the reason we're here, it really wasn't helping us achieve the goals we were hoping to reach, or maybe we weren't achieving what we want in our job, or you're limited. Usually there's a ceiling. You can only make so much money on the job, or you can only work so many hours, or you're limited to how much you can work. So I was always kind of I thought about starting my own business, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really have the money to get a business started, at least in the industry I was in. It would have taken a lot of money to get started. I was always kind of looking for something that I could do, maybe part-time while I kept my job, and try to build it to a point where it could replace that income. And I actually, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I got started in actually real estate. I was doing some real investing. And I did have some success there, and I actually met some people that led me into the industry I'm in now, but what I was struggling there was getting consistent. And with real estate, it's all about timing, and sometimes it's like the first guy there is the guy who gets the deal, and if I'm at work and I got to go look at a house, let's say, that's not anywhere near where I'm working, I was at a disadvantage. So I started looking around, and one of the guys I had done a real estate deal with posted something on his Facebook wall, and I saw something about internet marketing, and I'd always kind of been curious. I'm like, there's got to be a way where you can make money from your computer, where it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what time of day it is. You could do it at night, you could do it on weekends. It doesn't really matter. So I heard what he was doing, and he sent me a link, and I watched a couple videos, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm looking for. And so I got started probably about 2 years ago. And Alicia said, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. I want to be able to get started, start making money right away. And I quickly learned that there was a lot of skills that I didn't have yet that I needed to learn. And one of them, I think, you kind of alluded to a little bit, is it's not always technical skills. It's a lot of it's mindset, because you're doing something completely different from what you were learned in school or what you learned with people at work. It's a totally different mindset. Your mindset of an entrepreneur or a business owner is completely different from an employee. So that's something that took some time to learn, or change some of that programming that was put in your head to learn, how to start thinking more like an entrepreneur and not so much like an employee. Mm-hmm. So we're all continuing to learn. This is one great thing I love about this industry, is we can do hangouts like this, and we can learn from each other. different skills or different mindsets or different tips or tricks that we can learn from people that we meet in the industry that all over the world. We're in all corners of the U.S. right now, and we're able to do this hangout together, and we've all do these hangouts, and we're able to share knowledge with each other, what's working for us, what we're with, and it's a great industry that way, and you can do it any time it's available to you. Really, a specific time, like in real estate, it was about timing. With internet we're doing, it really doesn't matter what time of day it is. You can do it any time of day or night, lunch breaks, mornings, weekends, whatever works for you, whatever pockets of time you're available to. So, Alicia, does that answer your question? That you get a little more insight into how I got into this industry?
Yeah, it definitely does. And what do you think, once you got started, what was the biggest kind of roadblock? What was the biggest challenge that you experienced? I know you touched on the fact that you said that you realized, there was so much more to it than you thought. But what was one of the biggest things you had to overcome when you first got started?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of... one thing I learned early on, I had a really good mentor, and he basically said that don't do what the rest of the crowd is doing. So you get into most either affiliate marketing or network marketing company marketing material from the company. It's the same material that everybody else is using. And what he taught me was you need to kind of stand out from the crowd and be different. So I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And I need to learn a bunch of technical skills. Let's say create a landing page. I'd never created a landing page before. I didn't even know how to do that. I didn't know what tools to use or what's a good landing page look like. So stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I understand. I need to stand out from the crowd and be a little bit different. But okay, and then I found out, all right, I need to learn these skills in order to do that. So you need to go off and learn the skills. And a lot of people are afraid to fail, and that's one thing that I've learned, that I need to not be afraid to make mistakes. Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. So that's one thing I learned. It's, don't worry about being perfect. Go out there and get it started, and you're going to learn and improve along the way as you go. And I always go back to Thomas Edison. I mean, how many times did he fail at an experiment before he finally figured out how to make a light bulb? I mean, I think most people would have given up, and he didn't. And we got to treat our business. There's going to be things that aren't going to work, and we need to keep trying to figure out how to make them work. That's probably one of the hardest things, is you're going to have a lot of failure, and sometimes it's a little discouraging. You think something's going to be really great, it's going to work well, and it flops, let's say. So you got to all right, let me take a step back and let me start all over. Sometimes you just wipe the slate clean altogether and just start fresh with something new, and keep trying at it and learn. You go talk to some people you're affiliated with. Hey, I tried this, it didn't work, or you hear something like you heard a video. You can pick up on something from a video that may not even be exactly what you're doing, but it may trigger an idea. And that's one thing I learned too, is the reason that you don't have a money problem, you have an idea problem. You don't have enough ideas. So that's one thing I learned. All right, I need to constantly be exposing myself through reading, through listening to audios, doing hangouts like this, going to events, and learning getting different ideas from people all the time. So you're always tweaking things just a little bit to make things work for you. So that, I think, the biggest thing that I learned was to have a big goal, some big goal that I'm shooting for, that is going to help me get through some of the obstacles that I'm going to run into, that you continue to run into. So I think that's probably the biggest hurdle, was not being afraid to make mistakes, because if you're on a job a lot of times, maybe afraid to make a mistake in your own business, you can make as many mistakes as you want, and nobody's going to yell at you, other than yourself, maybe. So that's changing that mindset from an employee to entrepreneur, I think, is probably the biggest challenge that most people have.
Hmm. Yeah, I really agree with that, Chris. Most people coming into this industry are coming from the employee paycheck mentality. They've worked their whole lives and they've worked full time, and all of a sudden it's a complete shift. It's a complete paradigm shift. For me, it wasn't so much that way because I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit and I've always lived my passion as a professional dancer traveling across the world. The thought of a job, like a job that I didn't love, never sat well with me. So I always pursued what I wanted to do. And but even stepping into this online world, it shifted again. And many of the things that you spoke about, Chris, the challenges that you faced when you first got started, I think they are the major ones that most people will step into. And it either makes or breaks someone. Like you said, you've got to keep going, you've got to keep pushing through. And I think a lot of the time, the people that do are the ones that they feel like they're alone. They feel like they don't have any support. And that's what I really love. There's always somebody out there that's going to listen to you. There's always somebody out there that's going to check out your landing page and give you some ideas and thoughts and go and check out your blog. You really don't feel alone, especially when you can get on hangouts like this. And, it's funny to me because I think that majority of businesses with the 80% psychology, people don't take enough time to program their mind into becoming a business owner. They're now the owner of a business. They've now got to step into that entrepreneurial mindset. And if they don't do that, I think that's a lot of the reason why many businesses do fail, amongst other things. It really is all about the mindset. And yeah, I mean, I'll read you this one little snippet that I took from Robert Kiyosaki, who talks about network marketing. And this might ruffle a few feathers when I say it, but I love Robert Kiyosaki and some of the things that he says. He said, "The reason I endorse network marketing is that most people are addicted. Paycheck is one of the most sinister plots ever pulled upon a human being. If you need a paycheck, you've sold your soul. You've sold your body, you've sold your mind, your spirit, and your emotion. Or can I get a rated?" And then there's a bit of a pause and he says, "Why would you do that?" And you listen to that and it's really, really powerful when you think about it. Within society, he comes along and says, "Hey, maybe you could think about this differently. Maybe there's a small shift in the mind that you could take that could give you that love their job. They love what they do, and that's awesome." But for those of you out there that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a business owner, you need to realize that it's going to take work. It is going to take a lot of mindset work, and it is going to take a lot of skill set work. But it's always worth it, no matter how much time it takes. And Regina, if you want to pop out and share some of your, just the major challenges and struggles that you faced when you first got started.
Wow. I was thinking while Chris was talking, probably the biggest thing for me initially was being comfortable with putting myself out there. And interestingly enough, I was working as a police sergeant, where when you put the uniform on, you're kind of obvious. You can't pull up and somebody doesn't know who you are. You can't have lunch without being, obvious because of the uniform and the gun and the badge. But one of the hardest things was to actually be willing to put myself out there and not hide online. Being on Facebook kind of went against everything. It went against the grain of what it was to be an officer, because a lot of people don't like police officers. So at that time, it was, you just don't go around saying, "Hey, this is what I do," or it's just not, my mom would be proud, but I'm like, "Shh, don't say it in the grocery store," and just not really put myself out there when I wasn't in uniform, and so to turn around and be really vulnerable, or putting my personal life out there and in the open for everybody was a huge obstacle. I resisted doing videos, which is one of the the quickest ways to get people to know, like, and trust you, and just have people know who you are if they're not meeting you in person. Especially for the kind of business that we're running, where we're reaching people worldwide. So to get comfortable doing videos was huge. I just wasn't eager to do that, and I resisted it, and finally just started getting on video. And what I did in that case, people that maybe are resonating with that and going, yeah, man, I don't want to get on a video. I decided that it was so important, and this is probably the gist of my business, that I decided that I want it so much, and it's so important, and it's the life that I choose, and I refuse to go back to working for someone else, that I was willing to do whatever it took. And what I did is, when I finally made a commitment to get on video, I did a video in what I thought was the worst state possible. No makeup, hair pulled back, just worked out, sweating, thinking, oh my gosh, this is the worst that I could feel about myself being in a video. And yet, in that particular state, was so inspired and so energetic because of what I was sharing, because of the workout, that I just did it anyway. And ironically, some of the best compliments I've gotten have been on what I thought might have been the worst video, where I was like, man, I probably look like death formed over. I'm sweating, makeup, hair's all everywhere. And some of those were the best videos. So the huge breakthrough came with, you know what? I don't have to be perfect in this business. I can be who I am. I can learn as I go along, because what's that going to show everyone else? That everybody starts somewhere, and you don't just get in here being, Barbie or a news broadcaster or have the fancy cameras. You can be in your living room with your phone on a selfie stick going, I just worked out, and I wanted to share this thought with you. And so that was huge for me in terms of breakthrough, because I thought, man, I just have to be myself. I can just be me. And that's the whole benefit of what we're doing, is that I don't have to pretend to follow the company rules. And I think I shared this on a past hangout, where, working for the police department, ironically, was probably the less amount of freedom I ever felt, because even on my own time, I had to live by the department standards. So I had to be careful what I said. I had to be careful what I did. I couldn't, engage in neighborhood disputes. I just really had to monitor my life, even when it was my time and I wasn't on the clock and being paid. And so to turn around and live totally for me means that I can share exactly who I am, however, and state what I want to state, and not have to worry about living by someone else's standards. And that was huge for me. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny that you mentioned the videos. Funny story myself to share. Being a professional dancer, you're always in the limelight. You're on the video, you're on the camera, you're on the stage in front of a lot of people. And ironically, when it came to shooting videos for this business, I felt really uncomfortable about it, just the way that you did, Regina. And it was because all of a sudden, and it shifted everything. It changed everything for me. And what got me over that hurdle was at that particular time in one of our teams, they had, and I took part in that, and that challenge got me through that feeling of being uncomfortable with video. By the time I got to the end of the challenge, I was really comfortable talking in front of the camera. And it just goes back to comfortable, just get out there and do it anyway, and keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And before you know it, that thing becomes a little more comfortable. And then before you know it again, you've mastered the skill. Hey, Laurie's here. I just saw Laurie there. It got me excited. I thought she was jumping on the hangout.
Hi, Laurie.
There she is.
Oh, hang on. We're on mute.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
How you guys doing?
Yeah. Good. How you doing?
Fabulous.
You started talking about first time on video, so I had to pull Lori in here because she's got a great story about video.
Oh yeah, go ahead, share it with us.
The first event that I went to, we were with a couple, and the wife's name was Denisha, and she happened to hear that I've never did a video before, and I'm not one that even cares to have my picture taken, let alone talk into a phone and get myself recorded. So she just immediately grabbed me, started talking about the event, put me on camera, and all I could say was, like she said, because I couldn't say anything. I was all tongue-tied and twisted because it was a fear. And I don't know if anybody can really relate to that, but, you know, when I'm put on the spot like that, I can't talk. I don't even make sense. I forget that I speak English. So the long story is, well, the short version of the long story is when we got back from that trip, he was at work, and I'm sitting in my living room, and I had my phone. My hands are sweating, my heart's pounding, and I'm like, I've got to make a video talking about fear. And I basically went into like what seemed like a minute or 2 minutes, you know, touching base on if fear allowed everybody to not accomplish their dreams and goals, we have those that have succeeded and try to set examples for us. And I said that this is my fear, and I'm conquering it just talking to you. And it was like a very touching video, but I felt so empowered after it was done. Now I can't shut up. I'll get in front of the camera, and I will share my feelings with people, and that's just, you know, it's a success story, but doing the first video was quite a triumph, let me tell you.
Yeah, and that feeling of empowerment afterwards isn't just the greatest feeling when you get it done.
It makes you say, you know, that was nothing. What else can I do?
Yeah, it's like it proves to you that it was all in your mind and you were just making up this big thing in your head about what you thought it was, and then you do it and you're like, oh, that was easy.
I know. I'm like, boy, was I a chicken. Now I'm a hen, you know? Now I'm a rooster.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that story. And wow, that, you know, that's just proof that we can, you know, we can do anything that we want if we overcome that fear. And the more we keep doing it, I'm sure that you do videos all the time now. And
it's unbelievable. I have a niece. She was in college, and she was taking up journalism, and she was writing about a crime that happened in my neighborhood when I was in my early 20s before we got married. And she really did her research on this, but being someone who lived so close to the family and not knowing who they really were, but seeing them from time to time, and to have to talk about the crime, by the time she brought that film, her recorder, back to school, and she showed her professor, he was like, well, she's comfortable in front of the camera. Had I not did that video on fear and conquering it myself, I would not have been so comfortable with the camera and to come across and deliver the message that she wanted to share with her class.
Wow. That is so awesome.
It is. It is. Wow. I feel like, I'm like, bring it on. You know, I've got, you know, I got a couple other fears, but I'm like willing to look at them right in the eye and bat them down, so.
Yeah, that's what's so great. Now that you've conquered that, you're like, what's the next one? Come on, I'm going to move on now and conquer them all. You know, it gives you this confidence, you know? You're like, I can do anything now.
I'll tell you. It makes you hold your head up high. You're not so hunched over. Your shoulders are back, and you got a smile on your face, and it's genuine. It's not forced upon you. And I happened to go into the store after I did that, and I don't know if I was like floating on the cloud or something, but it's amazing when you walk with that confidence and you feel really good about yourself, that it's just wraps itself around you, and everybody that's walking by you is all of a sudden noticing you. It's not that I was wearing an expensive outfit or anything. It was just the aura of feeling so great about myself, and it really caught on to other people. So it's very important how you present yourself and how you feel about yourself, because people can feel that. And if you feel great about yourself, they want to be like, what's going on with her? I want to get to know what she's done, So it just snowballs from there. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's like it's a contagious energy. People feel it and they're attracted to it, and they want to know what's she doing? What's going on with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I just wanted to share that story with you guys. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. I got to cut out now. I got to do laundry.
All right.
All right. Thanks again for letting me share that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Thanks for jumping on.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, it's amazing how, when we do face our fears, we move into things that we've never done before, what it can do for ourselves and the people around us. When we're being real, that's what attracts other people, especially within this business. If we're coming across as desperate, if we're coming across as, just wanting to make a quick buck, if we're coming across as not really caring about people, people's BS meters are so high these days. They're going to figure you out in 2 seconds that you're BSing. And, the way that we overcome that is we be real and we truly care about people and we truly give value to people. And we have the energy that Lori was talking about. We become the confident roosters and we hold ourselves up a little bit higher, and it's really contagious. It's an unexplainable phenomenon, I think, but it really does attract people to you, and they wonder what it is that you're doing that's making you so happy. And, while Lori was on, I was going to ask you, you guys, but I'll ask you, Chris, anyway. As a couple, do you have any things that you two were challenged by as a couple? Because I know that, John Paul and I work the business together, and there are many challenges that we face, that we still face now. I was just wondering if you guys had any particular roadblocks as a couple working in the business that you wanted to share.
Is that the cat trying to pop in there? Yeah.
I'm going to say that's the cat's tail.
I see a tail or something pop.
Yeah, she's...
in there. I didn't know if it was the cat or John Paul was hanging over the camera. Yeah, so... Yeah, actually, one of the things that kind of appealed to me on this internet marketing versus real estate was when I was doing real estate, I wanted to do something because I'm away from Lori working so many hours a day, so many days a week. I wanted to do something that we could do together. And with real estate, I was finding that there was a lot of things I really couldn't involve her with. Even though I was trying to pull her into different things, there were just certain things that I was doing on my own. So one of the beauties of this business is we could do things together. So she is not as technically savvy as I am, maybe. So I'm kind of the computer guy, the figuring things out to do on computers, how to link this to that, and actually how to post a video. Or she's not technical, so. We're trying to figure out a way where we can do things together, and one of the things that we can do together that we do is videos. So we've been doing weekly hangout for over a year and a half now, and it's something that we do together as a couple, because we think that seeing us together as a couple is going to attract more people than doing a hangout alone, or Lori doing a hangout alone. Just like we're doing a hangout as a group, certain people may relate to you or to me or to Regina, and if we were all doing our own hangouts, we wouldn't be able to keep maybe people's attention as long. So I think that's just seeing us together as a couple, I think brings power to our hangouts. And it's going to attract people that maybe are looking for the same thing that we were, something that you can do as a couple. So that's one thing that we were trying to figure out, is how we can, I know there are different couples where certain couples master one technique maybe, and another couple masters something else, and together they can bring more strength to the business. But what we do together is our hangouts, and all of our marketing is always Chris and Lori. My emails come from Chris and Lori. All of our autoresponder messages from Chris and Lori. The pictures are always Chris and Lori. So we market ourselves as a couple, not just an individual. And you know, when I first started me, and once she got over her fear of doing videos, you know, I was doing Hangouts on my own for a while. I was able to bring her in and be a part of the Hangout. So the challenge, too, has been trying to do stuff that, and I think it's probably good. She's teaching me to keep things simple, because if I get too technical sometimes, it may be over a lot of people's heads. So trying to keep stuff simple, and maybe not so much technical stuff, but talk more about the mindset, and just keeping it real. Just, you know, we're real people, we're a real couple. I think that helps people to know, like, and trust you a little more than maybe if it was just me or just Lori. Together as a couple, I think brings more than just individuals. What do they say? 1 + 1 = 3, 4, or whatever it is. So I think it brings a lot more value than just me alone or Lori alone, the two of us together. And we attract people, I think, that see us as a couple and, wow, that's great, you're doing a business together. I wish I could find a business I could do with a spouse. So that's one thing I think that we focus on marketing a couple. And I think you do too, right, Alicia, with John Paul?
Yeah. We you know, we've experimented with, you know, different forms of marketing and different ways of marketing ourselves, depending on what it is. But yeah, very similar to you guys. Our email responders are from the both of us, and you know, we'll do our own separate campaigns for different things, and then we come together in the middle as well. Which kind of brings in the whole thing about, you know, target market and target audience, because there's a particular target audience that I can personally attract, and then there's another target audience that John Paul can personally attract. And we can separate those two, and then we can bring us and market together as a couple, like what you guys are doing. So it really does give you a lot of options. You can experiment with that, which is pretty cool as well. I know us as a couple, and from speaking, most of the time they'll complement each other. One person will focus on this area, then another person will focus on that area, and you come together in the middle. I've noticed that sometimes, you know, it can be a little bit of a disadvantage sometimes when you're working the business together, because I find that we'll start discussing, you know, the design of the landing page or the blog post or something that you're creating, and you've spent so much time talking about it instead of getting it out there, because you get distracted because you've got somebody else there, you know, and you may disagree on a few things, or you may want to change a few things, and in the end you've just got to get it out there. So that's something that I learned very quickly, because I'm quite a perfectionist in everything that I do, and within this online marketing industry, it's really challenged me, because I realized that the more I fiddled around with putting that image in the perfect spot and the perfect color and all those little things that probably doesn't matter to the person who's going to look at it, but it mattered to me. You know, I spent a lot of time on those things, and I had to really challenge myself to not do that, to just get it done and get it out there and test it, and then bring it back, and then, you know, tweak it a little bit, and then get it out there again. That's the thing. We need to get our stuff out there. If we don't have eyeballs on what we're creating and the value and the message we can give to our target audience, then, you know, there's not a lot going on. Which brings me to target audience. I guess we could touch on that a little bit. I know, Regina, you were talking about a little bit about target audience, and I think this is a really, really big one to kind of wrap your head around, especially when you first get started. There's a good old saying out there, if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. And I learned that very quickly when I first got started. When I first heard that, I was like, oh, wow, that's so true. Maybe not everybody on the planet, you know, is interested in what I've got going on, you know, which is going to be the case with any type of business. There's a certain target audience that is going to be attracted to you. And a lot of the time it could be the person that's just like you, and a lot of the time it could be somebody that's completely different to you. But what we really want to do is learn exactly who our target audience is, and that can take a lot of trial and error as well to really hone down on it. And we can move from one audience to a different audience to another audience, but especially when we're just getting started, we really want to think about who we want to talk to, who are we wanting to attract. You know, what am I wanting to serve these people with? What's my message, and how can I relate to them? And it's learning how to communicate with people, learning how is solving people's problems. That's what we're doing. And if we can really hone in and get inside the heart and mind of that one customer avatar, as we like to call it, that one avatar person, and really hone in on what they want, we can solve their problem, and we will attract more of that type of person to us. And this is a skill set that you will learn, you know, when you step inside the community. And in any business, you need to know exactly who it is that you're talking to. Like right down to the point of, you know, giving them a name, giving them, you know, geographically, where do they live, how old are they, what's their marital status, you know, where do they live, or where do they live, do they rent, do they own, what kind of car do they drive, what do they do for work. There's so many things that you need to know about this particular target audience. The more that you know, the more that you can speak directly to that person and really get inside their head and figure it out what it is that they actually want. So Regina, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, but that's just something that I really think that it's just so important when we step inside this particular business.
Yeah, and something that I've been learning through, you know, over the years actually, and I'd heard this early on, but it didn't register. And lately, there's a product that we've been going back through, and it's really to understand your target niche, your audience, is to really understand yourself, is to really become clear on what your values are, what your goals are, what are the things that you like most. If you can get clear on you and what you like and what you know the things that you do and where you hang out and what you read, then you now have an audience that you can speak to personally with some authenticity and some authority, and you just need to really look at yourself. Like, where do I go for this information? What questions do I have about this topic? And start to really just kind of, and the bonus part is that now you're actually digging into probably a passion of yours or something that you care about, something that's deep inside. So, you know, partnering that with what your passions, your core values, and what's important in your life is just effective in finding the target audience for what you have, because you're going to be able to speak to these people on a one-on-one level, very, very authentically. Let's put that up. Mm-hmm. That's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true when we really understand ourselves and we really made us have that break to get started. What was it deep down that really led us to make that decision? We can start to figure out, you know, who are the people that are just like us? Where are they, and how can I speak directly to them? And then you can really connect with those people on a deeper level. You know, because no one's really going to tell you on a surface level what they want. You know, if you ask somebody why they want to step into the, you know, the online marketing industry, why they want to start their own business, most of the time they will tell you it's because they want to have some bills paid, they want to get out of debt, they want to pay off their car, all those type of things. But that's the surface level stuff. You know, there's a lot underneath that, and we want to ask the question, well, once you have that, give you that you don't have now, and you keep asking the question, and eventually you're gonna cut right to the core desire of what that person wants. And sometimes it takes a little bit of work. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this with any new people that have come into your teams. But in our experience, it's always a surface level answer at first, and you've really got to cut really deep down and keep asking the question, well, when you have that, what is that going to give you that you don't have now? And for a lot of people, it's a very difficult question to ask. You know, we're always concerned about paying the bills, paying the debts off, all those types of things. But what do people really want? And it really boils down to freedom. It really boils down to having the time to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. You know, that's really what people want. And if you can get to that core reason, you can get inside that person's heart, that's what's actually going to fuel them to get started and take action and keep going as well. As we always talk about this, you know, you have to know what your why is when you get started. And you have to remind yourself of that every single day. You know, if your why doesn't make you cry, your why isn't big enough. And, you know, that goes for a lot of things in life as well. I know for me in particular, with the ridiculous workout sessions that I have with myself every day, you know, there are points in time where, you know, it's just so vigorous, and it's, you know, some people will call me crazy for going through it, but that's why it's called insanity, a lot of the programs I do. But I'm pushing to get to another level. And I realized the other day, I'm like, yeah, I'm pushing, I'm taking action, I'm doing this every single day, but now it's time to step it up. Now it's time to push to an even deeper level that I didn't even realize I had. Because within the workout space, your mind is always going to dig deeper than your body. And if you can tell your mind to dig its place, and not just about the exercise, it's about my life. You know, I can look up at a photo of my family, and I want to be here, I want to be healthy, I want to be around for a long, long time. And I look at that, and that's my why, and that's what gets me through. You know, and it's the same thing for this business, and the same thing for many things in people's lives, and we just have to realize why. What is it that's going to drive you to keep going? And, you know, what is it that's going to make you part of the 4% within your business that's going to be around in 10 years' time? What is it that's going to, you know, make you succeed and be there in 10 years' time and be successful within 10 years' time and not be part of the failure percentage? Taking action skills, we can build the business that we truly want to build. Am I still coming in okay, guys? I think I'm a bit choppy. A little bit choppy. The Google gremlins have come in for a little bit on my end. I shouldn't have brought them up. I think I jinxed myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of sporadic. It's like you're doing fine, and all of a sudden it hits. So.
Yeah. I just turned my bandwidth down a little bit, so hopefully that'll help a little bit. But yeah, before we close out, guys, if there's anything else you want to share that people can really, you know, take a hold of if they're thinking of getting started when they hit the link below, or they're actually already in a business as well, like if there's anything else you guys can think of that can really help people, you know, get set in the right direction down their path to awesome, like what would that be just before we head out? Chris, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny, Alicia. I just did a hangout last week, and we've been focusing more on mindset. And I actually posted the worksheet that you mentioned, or those activities are in the worksheet. I think you do 6 or 7 levels deep of trying to figure out what it is that you really want, and what is it that you're going to have that you don't already have, and you keep going through that exercise. And it really taxes your mind a little bit to try to dig deeper and really come up with the real reason. And most people, I don't think, take enough time when they're starting their business to figure that out. I think that's the first thing. People want to get in and jump in right away and start doing things, but I think the first thing you need to figure out is really why you're doing it, and what resources do you currently have available to you, and what resources do you not have available to you that you think you're going to need to be successful in your business. So there may be things you learn, skill sets, whatever, and you need to really, it's easy to kind of go off in a million different directions. You really need to focus on one thing or to master them and then move on to something else. So that was also something that I was challenged with early on. I was trying to learn too many different things, and really you need to kind of focus on all right, what's important for me right now in my business, and really focus on it and master that before you tackle something else. So really take small steps, certainly challenge yourself, but don't try to learn. You can't, there's a lot of things you got to learn, and you need to kind of learn one thing at a time and master it and then move on to something else. So that's something that's really taken me, I heard it early on, and I didn't really listen to it. And I think it's too easy to try to say this doesn't work and move on to something else, rather than focus in on something and really master it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. And once we have that down, once we have our why, as we move forward, our why starts to expand, and we start thinking on an even and our vision gets deeper, it gets wider, and we think about what we could do on more of a global scale. Like what would we do if we could change a little part of the world, if we could leave a legacy behind us? What would we do? And when we shift our vision and we make that even bigger than it is, that's when things really start to shift in our mind, and it attracts people to you because you're being real, you're being authentic. And that's something that I learned when I first got started as well. I was like, wow, you know, this vision can take me wherever I want to, and largely that was part of, you know, David Wood's vision is so big, you know, that all of our dreams can fit inside of it, as we know, and it allows you to think really big and say, hey, you know, what is it in the world that if I could do anything to change this part of the world, what would I do? And it's really empowering when you think about it and you understand that it's actually possible. And I think that's what this business really did for me when I first got started, that anything I really wanted to do in life was actually possible, no matter how big it was. So it really shifted my focus from, you know, at first understanding my why and then really expanding it on a deeper level. So I don't know whether you can relate to that at all, Regina.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I was thinking about, you know, what made me decide to get started, and really it came down to, I just came to believe that my time was worth more than what my job was paying me, and unfortunately it was a family. You know, I had to have like a awakening to say, you know what, time with family is precious. Time is precious, and so it got my attention where I went, you know what, I love my job. I'm making great money. My time is worth more than what they can pay me, and I need to be free. So initially, it was kind of a selfish why. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be at home with my mother, you know, and take care of my daughter, and I just didn't want to go to work. And as I got into the business and saw the possibilities, is when I really realized, came to understand how much more potential I had, and started to learn how to go deeper, like Chris is saying, and learn that, wow, yeah, you know, I don't want to have to get up and go to work, but there's more underneath. Like, what can I accomplish for not only me and my family, but what hope could I give to someone else who's a single mom and caregiver of an elderly parent, and, you know, dealing with a child with special needs? And what message can I show them? What path of hope can I lead them down by being willing to step out and get uncomfortable and do it? And, you know, some tidbits that I'd like to leave with our viewers is that, you know, in that initial pain area that you're having or have had is your story. Is your story the beginning of your story? And I'd recommend to really write down your story. And it's going to change. And there are going to be different aspects of that. But as you grow your business and as you become, you know, the person you're meant to be and into the greatness that you're here to do, we all have a purpose. That story, you're going to be able to go back to it. And it's going to get better, and there's going to be certain focus points that you can speak to people going through that particular type of situation at that time. And you know, for example, when you got hurt, you could speak to people that are hurt in their craft and how do they continue. Or mine, you know, I have a parent that had a heart attack and don't know how much time is left, and how can I, you know, how that point, that period in time. And I have several points in my story that I can share with others to inspire them. And you really need to target, to really stop, like Chris said, go deep into yourself, because then you're better able to identify the people that are looking for what you have. You're better able to understand how to speak to them, because you're going to know you so well that you can speak the language that they are needing to hear, because they're at that point too. And you might be ahead of them in that point, but if you understand what those people are looking for because of your own personal experiences, you're going to be better off. And then lastly, I'd say be yourself. One of the things that I learned and didn't really heed early on is trying to think I had to be like everyone else. Like I had to be the microwave success story. I had to be a certain way or do a certain thing. And whenever I went against who I truly am to the core, it didn't work, because I'm not resonating with the true me. And so I can get on a video and be goofy and be sweaty and whatever, and it's me. And so people resonate with that, and they respond to that, and they appreciate that, because they feel the realness. They know there's authenticity there. And you're not going to speak to everybody. You don't want to speak to everybody. You want people who are looking for what you have to offer, and get very specific on that. So that's what I just wanted to share in parting.
Yeah, it's so true, and your own story is so unique, and it's all of our stories are going to be different, and we're going to attract different people. And as you said, Regina, as much as we want to attract the right people, we also want to unattract the people that we don't want as well. Like that's important as well, to really think about that. And a lot of people forget about that. We're not trying to attract everyone into our business. We only want to attract a certain type of person. There's over 100 million people within the network marketing industry. And that's just within network marketing. 100 million people right now as we speak. It's probably already more than that. And the latest stat was that within those 100 million people, there's $182 billion a year in sales that are made. $182 billion in sales. Now, that stat just blew my mind when I heard that. And it was really empowering when I heard that I learned that many people were out there taking a risk and stepping into their own power and doing what society doesn't think is the norm. And I would hope one day that society is going to look at us, and we are going to be the norm. We're going to be the people that are different, and, oh, what is that person doing over here? Oh, why are you doing that? We're going to be the people that everybody looks to, and it's going to become normal. It's going to become more familiar. And I really believe that's going to happen. I really feel that it's really bubbling at the surface at the moment, and more people are catching on that they can have the lifestyle that they truly desire, but they have to get started. And, when you do, the law of familiarity is going to kick in. And what that is we do something long enough for a certain amount of time, it becomes all too familiar. And that's a lot of the time when people will quit. People will just give up on themselves. And at that point in time is where you really need to step up and remember why you're doing what you're doing, and it's going to help you to move forward, especially when you're inside a community like ours with all the support and motivation and inspiration that you can gather being inside this group. Start low, get inside, have that breakthrough moment right now. A breakthrough is a moment in time where you decide that things are going to be different. Something happens in your mind, something takes place in your life where you turn around and you tell yourself, enough is enough. This is going to change. I'm going to do something about it. Power right now, get started. And, if you want to, reach out to any of us here on the panel. We're all out there. You can find us all over the place on social media. We'll talk to you. That's what I also love about people like you. And we want to help you get to where you want to go in your life. So, as the title of this hangout was, the chokehold on your business. You know, we don't want you to have this major chokehold so you end up failing. We want to loosen that grip a little bit and get you the psychological skills and the action-taking skills that are going to take your business to the next level. So that being said, we will see you same time, same place next week, and we'll see you then. Click that button below.
Bye.